this second segment, you have this.
Yeah.
So is he predicting who's going to be on the first team All Big Ten?
He's just predicting who will be on a team.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So for context, the first team last year saw Kyle Monangai. Second team saw Holland Pierce, and nobody from Rutgers was on the third team. So no Longer Beam, no Callie McManus, no Duffer Strong, none of that. So you got to be above and beyond if you want to be on one of these teams. You can't just be good. So keeping that in mind, let's get into this. Because if every team were equal talent, we would have a 1 in 6 chance at every position. Right. So the first guy he has on a team is CJ Campbell Jr. I want to hear what you have to say first, and I'm probably going to agree with you.
As far as him being on the I'm not convinced yet. I think he has a tremendous amount of promise. He had some great games, at FIU against Charlotte. He ran for 150 yards. Against UNC, broke the 100-yard mark. But, again, he was playing for FIU. And before before I'm convinced, I need to see more. And so I'm going to say no at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I disagree with Mr. Phil Steele. I think too many reps are going to be given to other players, especially in the first 3 to 4 weeks versus lower-level opponents. So I think because of lack of repetition, he's not going to make the list.
Agreed.
So next up, we have DT Sheffield, and for this one, I agree he will be on the list. I think he transferred here to be an instant impact player. He's a senior. I think even though Duff and Strong are great and they had solid years last year, I think DT is going to be our number one option. And DT said himself that the dynamic between him and Callie McManus is one to look forward to, and he's shooting for big numbers. He said he wants 10-plus touchdowns, 1,000-plus yards, 100-plus receptions. Or I don't think, maybe it wasn't 100. No, it wasn't 100. It was less than that. But the other two were factual, and I agree with this. I think he will be on a team.
Well, I love DT Sheffield. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he did some special things at North Texas. He's fast. He's quick, smart. But at this point, I'm going to once again have to say no, and I don't mean it in any disrespectful way, but I'm not saying it won't happen.
So what if I told you that there are 2 wide receivers per first, second, and per team? So there's six wide receivers will be on a team.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit – I don't want to say skeptical. I think it's very possible, but the reason I'm not at a yes just yet, and again, I mean no disrespect, is number one, how's Ethan Callie McManus' year going to go? Well, one of the things we talked about was some great games, great arm, awesome team player, has the grit, but consistency in completing passes. We saw games where it dipped below the 60% mark and generally was around 60% on a consistent basis. That's number one. So for DT to be on, the All Big Ten team, Ethan's got to, play a very complimentary role in that. Number two, Shiano is a running back. He's a run-first type of coach. And so I don't know if he's going to amass the statistics that are going to justify it. And number three, we got KJ Duffy and Strong and Ben Black. So there's other –
yeah.
So I think there's other variables.
I was going to say Famad Touré, but he had that season-ending injury.
Yeah, I know, right? Unbelievable. So I would say possible, but at this point, I would not. And again, DT, don't kill me. I think you're amazingly talented, but I just think there's too many uncertainties.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: will he make it as a return man? Because he's listed as our starting kickoff returner and punt returner. And he was averaging 11 yards per return via the punt. That is, when you talk about punt returns on average, it's like 5 or 6. I think he can definitely make it as a return guy. If not,
I would say, again, I'm not sure, and there's one reason for that. Where he's playing competition that's substantially improved, he's certainly on that level, maybe even better. But I think, how good has Rutgers' return game traditionally been? Not very good. Possible. All I'll say is this. The sky's the ceiling for DT Sheffield. But at this point, given the uncertainty in other areas that really don't have anything to do with him, I would say not yet.
Okay, and again, that makes sense because, like I said, we had a lot of standout guys last year, and only 2 guys made the teams. So that's nothing against these guys. It's just it's really just to show how good the Big Ten is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next guy, 3rd out of 5 on Mr. Steele's list, is Kobe or Kwamani Asamoah. Asamoah. I think it's Asamoah. I'm going to disagree, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't think he's even the most likely offensive lineman to be on this list. And I will get into that later when we talk about who should be or could be. What about you? Adam.
Yeah. So you Gabe, you're freezing a little bit and cutting out, but we're good now. So I think, honestly, I don't know enough about him to bring me to a yes. So I just, like you said, I don't even know if it's stuff they have. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that's valid. Next guy, and it's unfortunate, right? Because there's not too many statistics you can look at for an offensive line. So it's tough to do research. You really just have to watch film to get an understanding. So,
yeah, my no is not because of any criticism. It's more from ignorance.
Jason does bring up a good point.
So Jason, I do.
So I mean,
that's promising. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I don't want to interrupt you. You got it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because you're breaking up a little bit. No, all I was going to say is Jason obviously knows more about Osmo than I do, and if he was honorable mention All Big Ten last year, that bodes well for him this year. And again, I think it also comes down to is how does that offensive line gel as a unit? You know, offensive lines, in my experience, they're not one of those things where you can have one standout guy and who just plays amazing, because the quality of their play depends on how cohesive they are as a unit. So I think, again, my answer would be possibly, but if I had to choose yes or no, I'd say no at this point. But again, more from ignorance than from expertise.
Yeah, that's fair. And this next guy, I think we are going to both agree on. Eric O'Neill, I agree he will be on this list. He came via JMU, and he was actually put on the preseason Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year watch list. So if he's on that, you should by default be one of the top 3 at your position in the Big Ten.
Eric O'Neill, for me, is a big yes. 13 sacks to lead James Madison in 2024. He's a player. Yes.
Yes, 100%. Him and Doug Blue Eli are going to be an amazing tandem.
Yeah.
I don't have Doug Blue Eli on my list, but I do think that they're a great one too. And this next one is Mr. Phil Steele's last guy on the list. I was kind of 50-50 on. I'm leaning towards no. Now, I actually have on my list that he will make it, Daryl Jabone, but I don't think he will anymore because of how tight the window is for getting onto this list. We have no more Motoré, and it is Daryl Jabone's defense now in terms of him being the mid linebacker. So he is sort of the anchor of that middle unit, but I think our strengths are elsewhere. I think our strength is in the front 4 and in the secondary. I don't think that our strength is linebacker.
Okay, well, you make some good points there. For me, he's a yes. And the reason I think so is he's fast, he's smart, knows the scheme inside and out, and he's a tackling machine. He is going to lead that linebacking core. And, you know, the defensive line, there's still a question. Is this defensive line going to be able to get to the quarterback? How are they going to be against the run? I think he's going to play – I think he's going to lead Rutgers in tackles, and I think he's going to keep them close in games against some of the nation's top teams. So I see him as a pretty essential member of that defensive unit, and based on his prior performances, I'm gonna go with a yes. We'll see.
Yeah.
And
I mean, do you think that him being a junior instead of a senior will play a role into it?
No, I don't think so, because I think if anything, it's better that he's a junior than he's a senior. I might have a little bit different perspective if he's a senior because, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but when you're a senior and you're eyeing the NFL, are you still playing with that same hunger, or are you trying to protect yourself from getting injured? Whereas
I hear you. I think it's the opposite. I think it's your
I
last.
think, yeah,
You want to put on your best performance. At least if you transfer all over the place. Not that Jabome did, but if you transfer all over the place, you want to prove that it's bigger than the program.
yeah, but you know what? How many of those seniors opt out in those bowl games? I don't see many juniors opting out. But it could go either way. So I guess my opinion would be it's not it's not significant of a difference to matter.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Jabome was third team last year as a sophomore, it does say a lot.
Yeah, he's just a stud. I just see him as somebody who has those intangibles that you can't teach, that common sense, like vision on the field. And that's something that I think brings him to a second team All Big Ten.
All right, fine. You've convinced me. You know what? You and Jason both convinced me because I was 50-50 on it. I was tough on the criteria. I didn't want to say yes to every guy if we only got 2 last year and then have some honorable mentions that I think would be on it. Because there are some honorable mentions. And Jason, you're right. I think I read that he's a junior and I got confused. So wait, it says here on ourlads.com, and this is updated because it says O'Neill's a senior, Blue Eli's a senior, so on. But it says Jabome's a junior. So I'm not sure. We'll have to get back to that. But yeah, anyways, you guys have convinced me. He is an amazing tackler. I think our run game is going to be fine. I'm really looking forward to the pass rush and the pass coverage. But I guess if it's fine, then that might be enough for Jabome if he's the one getting all the tackles.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to be interesting to discuss among some of our points when we preview the defense for 2025. So this was a great discussion to end our second segment here. I think
I wanted to get into some honorable mentions.
Oh, we can't forget the honorable mentions. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. The ones who were so close yet so far away. The ones that you say, well, close only counts in horseshoes. Just a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. So honorable mention. Who we got?
Yeah. So he didn't mention these 2 names, and I think one of these names is certainly going to be on the list, and another one could be on the list. Ty Needham, who I foreshadowed earlier as being the guy that I believe is closer to the All Big Ten list, it's him rather than Asamoah. I think Ty Needham is going to be on the list. He has been moved all over the place. They were even thinking of throwing him at tight end for a little bit, but I think that's because he is a jack of all trades as opposed to where does he fit. I love his fit anywhere on this front line, and I think no matter what, he's going to have a stellar year, and he's going to be one of the reasons that our offensive line continues to be looked at as one of the top in the nation and top in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. And I got to say something, Gabe. I've got 2 actual additional names that I think should have been on that list that were omitted. Anybody that that you think should have been on that wasn't?
Yeah, there's one guy I think absolutely should have been on that wasn't, and we might be reading each other's minds.
The same thing right here.
3, 2, 1. Cam Miller.
Yeah. Yes. This is called chemistry, folks.
Absolutely. And, shout out Ethan. He could be, but it's a stretch. But definitely Cam Miller. And honorable mentions also, besides Callie McManus, is Antoine Raymond. But the thing with Raymond, I think it's the same issue as Campbell.
Just going to say him.
I just think it's the same issue as Campbell. Doesn't get enough carries. But I'll let you give your reasons, too.
So that's a really legitimate concern that they're going to cancel each other out. But I think that there is room for both of them in that backfield. Raymond is he is someone who runs angry, man. He's physical, fast, and you got to love those kind of backs. I think he's going to be the starting guy. And what?
Monangai Jr., maybe.
Yeah, I think he may win the starting job or at least be the co-number 1. And then Jason knows as Westfield guy. Brian Felter finished his career with Smart. Yeah, and I lived in Westfield for about 5 years. Love that town. Right next to Cranford. Great area of the Garden State.
Cool. So, you want to get into Cam Miller, or I feel like we've
Yeah,
talked about how much we love.
because I have one little issue I have with Cam Miller is this,
Sure.
and it's not a specific issue that I have specifically with him. Are we getting tempted too much by the fact that he played at Penn State?
It's possible.
I'm wondering if I'm getting, because, you know, what I think he was good at Penn State. I think he's going to be a standout at Rutgers. But what's going to determine how good he is going to come against those in those games against Oregon, Penn State. That's where I think we're going to see the Rutgers players. They're going to separate the men from the boys in terms of who's going to be in the All Big Ten list. But I would say yes for him at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think so. You look at the stats, right? He has 27 tackles last year, 4 tackles for loss. He has a sack, 5 pass deflections. He doesn't have an interception yet, but that to me, that's not to compare him to Revis or something like that too much, but it might be because he's not getting enough balls thrown his direction. It doesn't have to come down to not catching the ball.
I think you are 1,000% right, and I'll make an analogy about that one. People say, "Oh, he didn't have enough interceptions." It reminds me of when people say, "This player didn't get enough sacks." Well, it doesn't matter if the player got any sacks. What matters is the player pressure the quarterback and throw off the quarterback's timing. So I think stats like sacks, interceptions, to me are misleading.
Yeah, and also, do you game plan your entire team to avoid having to face them? Like, do you throw a triple team at a certain guy, or do you purposely line Cam Miller up against someone that you don't throw it to? I think he's going to be on this list 100%.
I think he gives Rutgers the ability to play more man coverage.